Some leaders defend their country with weapons, but then there are those who defend it with words sharper than any sword. Dr. S. Jaishankar, India's voice on the global stage, has shown the world that true strength isn't about shouting the loudest. Sometimes it's about speaking the truth so clearly that no one dares to interrupt. In this video, we count down the 5 most unforgettable Jaishankar comebacks, moments that went viral, shook global media, and reminded everyone that India will never be spoken down to. So stick around till the end. You definitely won't want to miss it. A journalist mocked India's approach to diplomacy, calling it a multiple-choice mindset. The suggestion was that India was picking and choosing alliances only when it suited its own interests. They even pointed to Russian oil, asking if America was really fine with India doing whatever it wants. The question was meant to paint India as selfish and unreliable, but Jaishankar's answer flipped the script.
Do we have multiple options? Answer is yes. Is that a problem? Why should it be a problem? If I'm smart enough to have multiple options, you should be admiring me. You shouldn't be criticizing. Now, is that a problem for other people? I don't think so. We try to explain what are the different pulls and pressures which countries have. And it's very hard to have a unidimensional relationship. Now, again, different countries and different relationships have different histories. If I were to look, say, between the US and Germany, there's an alliance nature to it. There's a certain history on which that relationship is grounded. In our case, it's very different. So I don't want you to even inadvertently give the impression that we are purely and unsentimentally transactional. We are not. We get along with people, we believe in things, we share things, we agree on some things, but there are times when when you're located in different places, have different levels of development, different experiences, all of that gets into it. So life is complicated, life is differentiated. And I think it's very important today not to reduce the entire complexity of our world into very sweeping propositions. Yeah. I think that era is today behind us. Yeah. So I agree very much with what Tony said, which is good partners provide choices. Smart partners take some of those choices.
At a UN press conference, a Pakistani journalist threw out a question that sounded less like journalism and more like an attack. He accused India of spreading terrorism and even brought up old UN resolutions on Kashmir, as if India was the one standing in the way of peace. It was a sharp attempt to put India in the dock. But Jaishankar didn't let the weight of that accusation land. Instead, with just one calm line, he flipped the entire question back.
You're asking the wrong minister when you say, how long will we do this? Because it is the ministers of Pakistan who will tell you how long Pakistan intends to practice terrorism. At the end of the day, the world is not stupid, the world is not forgetful, and the world does, increasingly call out countries and organizations and people who indulge in terrorism. And by taking that debate elsewhere, you're not going to hide it. You're not going to confuse anybody anymore. People have figured it out. So my advice is, please clean up your act. Please try to be a good neighbor. Please try and contribute to what the rest of the world is trying to do today, which is economic growth, progress, development.
In another exchange, the pressure on India was clear. A journalist pointed to the border conflict with China, compared it to Ukraine, and then delivered a so-called defining question: when the time comes, will India choose America or China? It was framed like India's destiny would be decided by someone else's choice. But Jaishankar's reply was simple and firm. India doesn't pick between camps. India stands on its own feet. And that's exactly what makes the world pay attention.
Somewhere Europe has to grow out of the mindset that Europe's problems are the world's problems. But the world's problems are not Europe's problems. That if it is you, it's yours. If it is me, it's ours. And I see, reflections of that. There is a linkage today which is being made. A linkage between China and India and what's happening in Ukraine. So come on, guys. China and India happened way before anything happened in Ukraine. So The Chinese don't need a precedent somewhere else in the world on how to, engage us or not engage us, or be difficult with us or not be difficult. I mean, I just see this as frankly a not very clever argument, a very self-serving one. This idea that, your grand strategy must be about how you will choose. I will do what, as all of us do. I will weigh the situation, like how do countries eventually make decisions?
After this point, the reporter interrupted, before Jaishankar could even finish his answer. She tried to push him into choosing between two camps, the West on one side, China on the other, but he didn't bend. No, I'm sorry. That is exactly where I disagree with you. This is the construct you are trying to impose on me, and I don't accept it. I don't think it's necessary for me to join this axis or not, and if I'm not joining this, I must be with the other one. I don't accept that. I'm 1/5 of the world's population. I am, today, the 5th or 6th largest economy in the world. I mean, forget the history, civilization bit, everybody knows that. But I think I'm entitled to have my own side. I'm entitled to weigh my own interests, make my own choices. And my choices will not be cynical and transactional, but they will be a balance of my values and my interests. There is no country in the world which disregards its interests. One journalist tried to corner India with a big claim that you can't become a world leader if you're sitting on the fence. They said non-alignment is outdated, that if India wants to represent 1/5 of humanity, it has to pick a side. The question wasn't just about policy, it was about India's identity on the world stage. And that's when Jaishankar stepped in. His answer wasn't defensive, it was confident. He made it clear that India doesn't need to follow anyone's script. India leads by choosing for itself.
I don't think we're sitting on the fence. Just because I don't agree with you doesn't make me sitting on the fence. It means I'm sitting on my ground. What are the big challenges of the world? Okay, big challenges of the world are climate change. I think I'm very critical to the solution. I can be an exemplar. I can be actually an arena for an enormous leapfrogging of green technologies. Look at terrorism. Look at the emergence of a world order. Look at security. Look at sustainable development goals. I mean, you take any and all of the big challenges of the world, some part of the answer either comes out of India, can be contributed to India. Look, a lot of things are happening outside Europe. We have, partly because of climate change, for a lot of humanitarian, natural disasters, humanitarian responses. In our part of the world today, a lot of people look to us to help out. The days when they expected Europe to come, which Europe did at the 2004 tsunami. The difference today is nobody's even thinking of that anymore. So the world is changing, new players are coming, new capabilities are coming, but a new agenda must come. The world cannot be that Eurocentric as it used to be in the past.
At one press conference, a journalist accused India of ignoring war crimes in Ukraine, refusing to sanction Russia, and yet still expecting global support in its conflict with China. The question was clear. If India didn't stand with others, why should anyone stand with India? It was a provocative attempt to question India's credibility. But what followed wasn't a defensive apology. Instead, Dr. Jaishankar delivered a response that turned the doubt back on the questioner and reminded the world that India acts on principle, not pressure.
It's an interesting question which you might, not you meaning you personally, but people might want to ask themselves, because if I were to take Europe collectively, which has been singularly silent on many things which were happening, for example, in Asia, you could ask, why would anybody in Asia trust Europe on anything at all? So here's the take. I think you're mischaracterizing our position. For example, when Bucha happened, we condemned Bucha. And we actually asked for an investigation into Bucha. In terms of what is happening with the Ukraine conflict, our position is very clearly that we favor an immediate cessation of hostilities. It's not that we've ignored it, unless you call phone calls to Putin and Zelensky as ignoring something. So first, I would urge you to get the factual position accurately. Secondly, in terms of the connection you are making, we have a difficult relationship with China. We're perfectly capable of managing it. If I get global understanding and support, obviously it is of help to me. But this idea that I do a transaction, that I come in one conflict because it will help me in conflict two. That's not how the world works. A lot of our problems in China have nothing to do with Ukraine, have nothing to do with Russia. They predate it. I mean, if we are getting into who is silent on what issue at what point of time, I could point to a whole lot of issues on which, as I said, Europe has held its peace. It's a great polemical point you made, so I take it in that spirit.
And that's the thing about Jaishankar. His words aren't just replies, they're reminders that India will not be lectured, not be dismissed, and not be underestimated. Every line he delivers carries the weight of history, the pride of a billion people, and the sharpness of truth. Tell us what you think in the comments.